Okay, Lisa, did you just, sorry, Lisa's just joining now. And. Oh. Hello. Sorry, I have the wrong. Billy, did you send, sorry, did you send a packet for this one?
I did. Hang on one
What
second.
was the date?
Oh,
I opened a packet, but it was the wrong packet. Wednesday.
Susan,
Yeah.
I think if you go to the end of the packet, there's new information.
I'll forward it to you right now, Susan.
No, I got it. I got it.
You have it?
Yeah, I think I've got it.
Because the packet had like the same, I was confused earlier because the packet has the posting for our May 9th meeting.
Oh, all right, right.
And
Okay.
then after it's all new business and there are letters starting on page 23, which we didn't have last time.
And I'm
Yeah.
sorry that was a mix up on my part.
No, it's fine. I was looking at the stuff for this application, but I went from the letters back to the beginning and I went to the posting from the last meeting. My question was just who did we have sitting on this one last time?
The decision's in the package, I think. Let's see.
Yeah.
I'm going to it. Elisa, John, Susan, Michael, and Joe.
Joe. Okay, that was what I was looking for.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it was the full board, so we'll have to activate an alternate.
Okay. Okay. And who do we have? Jim?
I don't see him on and I haven't heard anything from Jim.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's get started. Okay, so just to get started, this open meeting of the Board of Appeals is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment, correct? Yeah. For this meeting, the Board of Appeals is convening by video conference via the Zoom app as posted on the town's website identifying how the public may join. Please note that all attendees are participating by video conference. Please be aware that other people may be able to see you and take care to not screen your computer. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted, the public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. As a preliminary matter, my name is Susan McCarthy. I sit currently as the chair of the Board of Appeals. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. John Brescher.
Here.
Lisa Botticelli.
Here.
Elisa Allen.
Here.
Michael O'Mara.
Here.
Mark Poor.
Here.
And that's all I can see. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. William Saad.
Here.
And anticipated speakers on the agenda, please respond in the affirmative. I don't see anybody listed, but do we have,
I'm gonna move Paul Santos, Carl Clark, and Joe Paul over.
Okay.
And if they have anyone else, please let me know.
Okay. All right, so that's that. So I will call to order this special meeting of the Town of Nantucket Zoning Board of Appeals, Thursday, May 30th, 2024 at 1:05. This meeting is all remote participation via Zoom. And Would someone make a motion to approve the agenda as drafted?
So
I will.
moved.
So I'll take John as the motion, Lisa as the second. I'll do a roll call vote to approve. John Brusher,
Aye.
Michael O'Meara,
Aye.
Elisa Allen,
Aye.
Lisa Botticelli,
Aye.
and myself. Aye. Okay. And I see Mark Poor has joined us. Okay.
Jim
And
Mondani.
Jim is here, and I see Jim
I'm
too.
here.
Yep. Okay. Is there anyone, Billy, that has a hand up for public comment area of the agenda, which is something to comment on that is not reasonably anticipated or listed on this agenda?
One person has their hand up, but I believe they want to comment on the agenda item, so they put their hand down, so there are no hands up.
Okay. So we are going to move on. Did you have? Sorry. Look at one thing.
I can pull up the packet if you want me to share the screen here.
I have it on my other screens, so unless if anybody else would like the packet shared on the screen. There's no minutes to approve this right now, so we're gonna move on to item number 5, new business. This is 1624 William M. Murphy, trustee of the 89 Easton Street Nominee Trust, 89 Easton Street. The application is requesting a modification of the previously granted special permit in file 2323. The applicant is seeking to modify condition C to allow exterior construction to extend to June 30th, 2024. Okay, would either Joe, Paul, or Clark like to speak?
Actually, Susan, Paul Santos, and I'll start if that's
Okay.
okay. Paul Santos from Nantucket Surveyors on behalf of the property owner and applicant William Murphy, who I believe actually is also available and on the call today. Just as a reminder, the chair read through why we're here today. But again, the site is 89 Easton Street, the former Bowman property, site of Captain's Quarters, what was known as Captain's Quarters, that is being redeveloped to a residential building by Mr. Murphy, who is also the abutter to this project with an address at 3 Cliff Road. The intent for us to be here today is to simply continue construction in the hopes to get this building foundation in place, have the building dropped on its foundation, backfilled, sidewalks reconstructed and made passable, and then adhere to the requirement regarding no exterior construction for the remainder of the summer months. Again, this is simply an issue to get this building down on top of the relocated foundation. Within the packet, unless there is any others that have been received, there are 2 letters that we've had the ability to review prior to this meeting. One was a email from Mark Snyder, the owner of the Nantucket Hotel, which listed 2 specific concerns. One was with regard to times of construction and feedback he has gotten up to this point from his guests. And then he also mentioned the blocking or access in North Avenue, as North Avenue acts as the delivery area for the hotel, plus access to the single-family residences located within North Avenue. There was also a email or letter from Sarah Little and Doug Hirsch, who are the owners of 4 North Avenue. 4 North Avenue is the first single-family dwelling on the left side of North Ave as you traverse in from Easton Street. And they are direct abutter, not so much to 89 Easton Street, but to 3 Cliff Road, which is Mr. Murphy's current residence. On the call, also, as I had mentioned, I believe Bill Murphy is on the call. Carl Clark is the general contractor for the project. Joe Paul from BPC Architecture is the architect, and site contractor is Toscana Corp. I know Carl was having some issues with his dad, so I'm not sure if he's on the call or not. I know he was trying to get on a flight and leave the island at some point today.
Thanks, Paul. I'm here.
Okay, Carl is here. So with regard to Mark Snyder's letter, we have agreed and happy to have part of any condition with regard to how the board votes today to modify the hours, essentially that no work would start before 9 a.m. and would finish by 5 p.m. That was item 1 that Mark had mentioned. And with regard to the access on North Avenue, I think Carl is cognizant of that fact with regard to both Mark's concerns and also the concerns of Sarah and Doug Hirsch. Doug and Sarah set forth a number of bullet items. I think there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items with regard to items that the ZBA could put in place to protect the interests and concerns that they have, specifically with continued access to their properties along North Avenue. And while there may be 5 items, I think the last item as a condition could handle or deal with what their concerns were. And I'll briefly read that one. It says, "We would hope that the plan ensures that the Murphys, their guests, their contractors, and everyone working on their job site have clear instructions enforced by an on-site supervisor on where to park and where not to store construction debris in order to keep North Avenue and what they refer to as the Little Way clear at all times." The items before that, again, speak mostly to the issue of access to their properties. I think Carl is now aware, or may have been aware previously, of what their concerns were, and we're happy to have any type of conditions moving forward that would address both Mark's concerns with regard to the hours of operation and the Littles and Hirsch's concern with regard to access to North Avenue. Now, while there may not be any more letters in the file, there may be additional abutters that may bring that issue up. But again, I think we can handle that moving forward. And again, the intent of this continuation is to simply just to try to get this building, or to get the building on the foundation lowered, backfilled, and the walkways along Easton and Cliff Road reconstructed within the time frame of the extension. If Carl would like to add anything at this point, that's fine. If you think the board would like to maybe take some input from the abutters, we can go at it that way. But I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
Does the board have any questions before we move over to Carl? Okay, seeing none. Carl, do you want to address some of the concerns we heard from abutters?
Yeah, we have spoken to all the subcontractors. Really, there's only 2 main subcontractors now that will be working in the next 30 days. That's McGarvey Masonry, so everybody is aware of the concerns, and we have made parking arrangements and made some more space, and we don't anticipate any blocking of North Avenue moving forward, with the exception of maybe one day when we're pouring the walls. So, you know, I do have contact information for Sarah Little and Tom Little and the Alders, and I will give them as much notice as I can if in any case the road will be blocked. Other than that, the current fencing that is on the edge of Cliff Road, we are now in the position where we can move it back to the side of the sidewalk and construct the sidewalk as much as we can. So we're going to move forward with that now rather than in 30 days. So we're just going to try and make things as comfortable as we can down there.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Carl? No. Joe, did you want to add anything?
To add, I appreciate the thoroughness of Paul's explanation and Carl's awareness. So I'm just here to answer any questions that might come up. Thank you.
Okay. Does the board have any questions at this point or requests for clarification from the applicant? No. Elisa?
I just want to be sure that any abutters or delivery people that are delivering to the Nantucket Hotel or anybody that needs to get down for access knows who to call if they're having a problem and they're pulling in or they have to get out quickly, and they just have a contact number to call Carl or call someone directly that can give them a quick answer or help them instead of them sitting there not knowing who to call or unable to move through the space.
Sure.
Yeah.
We have, go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, I think that, Carl, you can answer that better than I can, so go ahead.
Sure. We did put up signage more for the subs that they were to let me know immediately if for any reason there was a need to block North Avenue, but we will also add signage probably on North Avenue with my cell phone number so that any of the neighbors can call. I'll put up a sign saying to call this number if there's any blockage or any
I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
Okay. How does the board feel about the conditions suggested? I think what I heard from the applicant is that they've made the concessions to the extent they can. Does anyone have any additional requests for the applicant before I go to any members of the audience?
Can I get some clarification? So between 1 month from today is where how much of an extension they want to June 30th, right? And then that will be the end of any exterior work, but interior work will then be going on throughout the summer. Is that true?
I believe that's correct.
Okay. Just knowing how it goes on job sites, as most of us do, my concern is after everybody has given the approval for the extension, I worry that, when they're doing interior work during the summer, that there are going to be compressors outside and stuff that makes a lot of noise. It's going to upset everybody even more. And we will have not mentioned it. And I don't know what the rules are for interior work versus exterior work. And even during this next extension period, being as conscious as possible to not be making noise. I know we have the hours of 9 to 5. I don't know if a job supervisor can just make sure that I know cutting is going to have to go on outside and saws and things, but to have generators running outside all day long and driving everybody who's here on vacation crazy is going to be a problem for us, possibly. I just want to ensure that we don't give anybody if we do decide to give this extension, they don't have any follow-up problems with anything going on, especially noise or traffic on the job site. I guess that's what I'm asking. Will that be, I just wanted to mention it so that everybody's aware of it. So if it comes up during the extension period or even during the summer, that we're all.
I think that's a good point. I mean, the hours, the 9 to 5 was only for the extension period at this point. Is that correct? To get the
I-
building back down.
I believe it is, and to Elisa's points and concerns, typically in the past, we have on certain projects, I think across the board, we've said, you know, interior construction means you're inside, right? That there's
The
not
saws are inside, yeah.
saw.
Compressors are inside. It's the compressors that are a big, you know, they usually put them on a covered porch, or I just don't want people going wild, the neighbors, when they're trying to enjoy a couple months. And I just don't want complaints. I want to head it off now.
Well, and I think the same, you know, issues with delivery items and still having a cell phone up there because, you know, if people are dropping off big loads of lumber and they're getting unloaded and things like that, there'll be some traffic issues, I'm sure. So I think the concerns, to your point, Elisa, I think the concerns will probably maybe go on beyond June 30th. So maybe how does the applicant feel about extending some of those restrictions into that time period, even though we haven't typically done that?
Because it's so thickly settled in there.
So Lisa, are you asking that Carl leave up the signage that says, you know, call this number if there's a blockage, or you can't?
And restrict the hours 9 to 5 and have everything inside?
Paul or Carl, or Joe, how do you
I'm
feel
happy
about?
to make that commitment. Honestly, I don't anticipate, just with parking down there and everything, I don't anticipate there being a lot of construction for.
A lot of heavy work being done that time. You
Yeah.
just want to get the building down and secured?
Yeah, and then honestly, it would be minimal.
Okay.
Just because access down there, you know how it is in July and August.
Yeah.
My personal preference would be to leave it until Labor Day, but
Well,
I can't make that commitment. I would imagine we still have.
how does Mr. Murphy feel about that?
Yeah, and Mr. Murphy is not in total agreement with that, so.
I got it. Okay.
But we'll make the commitment to be cognizant of it and keep it to a minimum.
Throughout the summer.
Through the July and August, yeah.
July and August. Okay. So, July and August, inside construction only, and the signage will remain, and the hours will stay the 9 to 5 as agreed to with the abutter at N Hotel is on the table.
Can I ask one more question? And I may have missed it, but is there like a very detailed construction schedule from this day forward on how you're going to ensure the building will be back down by the 30th?
We are ready to pour the mono slab right now. McGarvey is ready to go. He anticipates a couple of weeks, which leaves Toscana a couple of weeks to get it back down. So everybody seems pretty confident we can get it back down for.
The mono slab is going to include the walls too, then?
It's no, there's a 24-inch
build
slab that's ready to be poured right now. Got it.
Okay.
And walls.
Okay, Elisa, I see you have your hand.
I also just, does landscaping fall under the heading of outside construction?
It used to but because we realized stone cutting was so noisy.
Yeah, but
so
I don't
we used to restrict it.
Bobcats, planting trees, planting grass. I don't know what's going to be going on landscape wise just until Labor Day. What's
I can't imagine anything would be, but
just backfilling, just the backfilling.
Yeah.
Just back.
Okay.
Well, and that we're assuming needs to happen by this deadline. There hasn't been any discussion or even thoughts about any of landscape related work. We'll have rough grade pulled in by the 30th, but we know it's going to be sitting idle through Labor Day.
I'd like to propose that we make that a condition, that the only landscape or land altering work that's going to be done is backfilling, and then nothing else is going to happen until the day after Labor Day weekend outside.
That would be no exterior construction.
Yeah.
I know, but if it's a gray area, I want to define it.
Well, I think well, in the past, we had really defined it as no land, I don't know if we actually specifically said no backfilling, and we can certainly add that, but it was, no saw cutting, no stone
Right.
cutting.
Definite backfilling, because I think that's a safety situation. I think it definitely should include backfilling before the 30th of June has to be done.
Mhm.
And then after that, no trees, no stone, no walls, no nothing like that.
I think that applicant, are you guys okay with that? Considering it seems like you weren't planning on doing that anyway?
Yeah, we're fine. I think we're going to be getting into the pavement work sooner rather than later. So,
Okay.
Great.
So you think you'll have that pavement work complete by June 30th?
yes,
Or you'll have to stop?
yeah,
The sidewalks, right?
Sidewalk, and they're brick, right?
it's brick. Yeah,
I was more referring to like on the actual property, but
Yeah.
I was assuming that was all going to be done, but I just meant like on the private property, that nothing but backfilling will be done after
Can't
June.
imagine you'd be doing much landscaping when you haven't even framed the house, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's a
I don't
pretty
know.
tight one.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they have said they're not planning on doing any landscaping, and the backfilling they're planning to do before the June 30th. So I think we
Great.
can
We're in
move.
agreement, yeah.
We can move on. Yeah, I think we're in agreement. If that is it from the board, I'd like to move to, if there's any, oh, Billy, I see you have your hand up, sorry. And then I wanted to see if, anyone in the audience wanted to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just for consistency, if the board is leaning towards approving this and we're going to have some sort of interior construction limitations, I think instead of July and August, maybe to go to Labor Day to be consistent with the exterior construction limitations.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
I agree with that. We should be consistent, yep.
Makes sense.
Yep. So then, moving on to the audience, if there's an audience.
Yes, I have 3 hands up. First will be Gary Beller.
Okay.
And Gary, you have to unmute and you can speak.
Thank you. Billy, did everyone get a copy of my letter?
Yes, it was included in the packet.
I'm not sure the chair read it because she said she didn't have a chance to see it, but
I haven't. It's right here on my screen.
oh, good, thank you. I'm not an immediate abutter, but we own a home. We live 2 blocks away. And I was very pleased that when the zoning board put in the original restriction, because once Memorial Day comes, between Memorial Day and Labor Day, there shouldn't be this heavy construction anywhere, especially in Brand Point, and especially on that intersection, which covers both Cliff Road and Westchester Street and even Center Street. So, but the interesting thing is that I haven't heard any reason that they need to go forward at this particular time. There was no immediate need. And as I indicated in my letter, going by every day in the month of May, nothing was done. They wasted an entire month of May doing nothing. And then they decide to ask for an extension to June 30. I think it's a very bad precedent to set. It's going to be very disruptive to the entire neighborhood, to anyone traveling in that area, especially the hotel guests, but also lots of us that live nearby. And nothing is going to be solved by it, because even if they get an extra 30 days, all it will mean is that they're going to be continuing for the next 6 months anyway. So I haven't heard any specific reason that this particular project needs to have an extra 30 days. They didn't do anything in May, obviously. And so now they want to take June, which is not a good month when people are arriving for the film festival or the book fair, whatever. And it's part of the season. So I'd be very disappointed if the zoning board gave up, this for no reason. There's no urgent reason that this has to happen. They just want to have another 30 days to construct. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beller. We'll take those into consideration. Was there, you said there were two more people?
Yeah, next up we have Sarah Little.
Okay.
Hi, thank you for hearing my comments. I sent a letter in which was pretty concisely itemized the issues, and I think I sent it early around to everybody, so I think you all had a chance to read it, or it was sent around to the, well, actually, I don't know if the committee has read it, but the point I want to make, 2 points. One is, I would hope that the exterior noise and work that's going to be allowed for June only include the foundation, backfill, and walkways, and that they don't take that opportunity to, cut masonry and do a whole lot of other external noise and generate traffic that is not related to the critical work that they are saying that needs to be done. So only the stuff related to that work, external noise and external work, be allowed. The other thing I really want to emphasize is, living on that alley, we spend a lot of time asking people to move their cars or waiting for them to make the delivery. And it's really it's an inconvenience, an annoyance, and it's a safety issue. You can't, if it takes 10 minutes before an emergency vehicle can get in because you have a truck half unloaded and there's no way in, that's 10 minutes of a fire or a heart attack. And there are lots of people down there. It's not just some residences. We also have people who park for the Cliff Lodge, and people on Cliff Road use that for their cars. And so there's a lot more people and on my letter, I gave a map, and there's potentially 30 cars back there in a peak season. So we don't want to have to call someone to come move a car. We want somebody on site that keeps the ways clear. We don't want to have to, every time we want to go out, ask somebody to move. It's gotten very old and it's not safe. And I also, there was a discussion of the interior work. I really appreciated that during the summer, that it be included with noise and blockage issues, that as a order of conditions. Anyway, so I'll end there and let other people talk. But I just want to emphasize, we don't want to be calling a phone number. We want somebody on site to make sure it stays clear and direct traffic if needed.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Well, I guess let's hear from the third person, then I'll go back to the comments that were made. Billy, did you have one more?
Yeah, I'm sorry. We have
Okay.
Emma Morgan, and I just wanted to clarify, Ms. Little, your comments were included in the packet.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much. My name is Emma Morgan. I'm also a resident of North Avenue. And I wanted to point out that I also submitted a letter. I'm also a resident of 4 North Avenue. And I wanted to emphasize that my partner and I are year-round residents. We have been year-round residents of North Ave for a year now. And not to go into the details, but to briefly summarize the reasoning behind my letter, because everyone else has pretty much touched on it. We have been dealing with the very unsafe situation of being blocked in with no access in or out of the alley since January now, several times a week. And I just wanted to point out, I really appreciate the consideration from Carl and Paul about the conditions. Really appreciate everybody's effort to work with us. And I just wanted to highlight that North Ave is a dead end road, and it is the only way in or out is the small way in between 3 Cliff Road and 89 Easton Street, and then North Ave, the alley. So to jump off of what Sarah said, this is more than just a convenience issue. This is a very serious safety issue to the people that live here and work here full time. There have been several times where we have had to wait, several minutes to get to work on time, to be able to access our road. And we have a lot of concerns as to the safety implications that this construction project has had for the last several months. not even getting into, the noise pollution and the traffic, aside from that. So we just really want to emphasize consideration for the neighbors, for their reasonable peace and quiet, for their safety. And that's what's really important to us. And I also just wanted to make a note that I hadn't put in my letter is that the North Avenue Road sign was taken down to make room for fencing for the construction site, and it's been laying on the ground for a couple weeks now. And it'd be great if if in like a temporary capacity, it could be posted back up, because that also poses a safety issue for anybody needing to find that address. It's just laying on the ground. So if it could be put back up so that we have better visibility for emergency vehicles, that would be great. Thank you very much for your consideration and your work on this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Emma. So Paul, Joe, and Carl, so the exterior work during the extension, I think I heard from you that you are limiting it to as Miss Little put it, the critical work that needs to be done to put the house back down and then backfill it. And then that's the extent of what you're planning to do for exterior. Can you confirm that, or give us some more information on what if there's anything in addition that you were planning to do during this extension that the neighbors would want to know about it, we may want to consider?
No, we don't anticipate anything outside of that. And I'd also just add the pavement work.
Okay. And
And
then
that's part of is that part of the June 30th deadline, the pavement work, Carl? Okay.
Yes.
And then
so
after that, I think she asked if there'd be any other concrete cutting, but you're not anticipating anything
No.
past the June 30th.
The only thing Carl said is that essentially anything that's safety related, so the sidewalks, a safety related issue, getting the house down and off the cribbing, and then the backfilling, and then there will also be a fence that's going to happen around the back side of this, where part of this foundation will be open. So it's really all of the conversations about what's remaining are all the safety related items, which we had talked about at the first hearing. So we didn't bring them up again, but because one of the gentlemen mentioned it, I just wanted to reiterate that's what our focus is.
How does the rest of the board feel about granting the extension, but only the extension, and then stopping it, even interior work, or is that not within our purview?
I don't believe that that's within our purview. I think they're allowed to do interior work. But Michael, you may have a better recollection on past projects.
Well, I think that safety is of paramount importance here. And one question I would have for either Carl or whoever wants to answer it, if I assume the paving can't get done until the building is down, is there a fallback option for creating a sidewalk by the 30th of next month if the paving can't be completed by then? i.e. backfilling it and putting down gravel or something like that so it's passable. I understand that it's going to be lit at darkness every night.
Yeah, happy to look into that, Michael, and report back. But yeah, I'm comfortable with Cliff Road being paved right down. It's just the section between the access at North Avenue and the corner. But I believe we have space there. I don't anticipate any issues with getting the paving redone.
Okay.
Susan.
Yeah, Jim?
Madam Chair. Did someone respond to Mr. Beller's comments that the month of May, nothing went on there? And why is this so delayed?
Not yet, but I do have a note about that. But since you brought it up, I know you guys haven't been able to do any work since Memorial Day, right? There was nothing.
Yeah.
But do you want to address his concerns about was there a stop of work in May?
Honestly, guys, there's been steady progress there. It's been quite busy. I'm sure some of you are aware of what's involved with the waterproofing. It's a 24-inch thick mono slab that has had to be formed, waterproofed, dewatered, and I'm happy to supply photographs of progress over the last few weeks. I'm not aware of any stoppages in May. McGarvey, there's been a lot of form work, a lot of steel work involved to get it to this point. So,
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that, I felt like I was stopping by on site every couple of days in the month of May, and a lot of the heavy equipment was gone, but rebar and some of the lighter work, as Carl just described, and the waterproofing, there might have been a week where we were waiting for some additional steel sheeting to go in order to, we didn't want that area that gets referred to as Little Way. The excavation was getting close to that, and there wasn't steel sheeting there as part of the original plan. And so that was installed. It wasn't part of the original site plan, but that might have been a week or 10 days, but I think that was actually in April. But there's been quite a bit of activity happening there in the month of May. And by the way, the remaining stuff really is constrained to 2 contractors, where, as Carl mentioned, the concrete work and in Toscana's work. It's those 2 contractors that are left. And each of those contractors presumably will have a project manager on site representing their business, and would certainly, after this meeting, even I'm assuming that employees on site would also be notified that if there's any issue or any blockage, that it's mitigated even as soon as it's noticed. I don't want to speak for Carl, but I know that Carl isn't going to be on site full time there. But if there will be 2 contractors that are on site, so I think it's manageable and realistic to expect that they'd be able to manage vehicular traffic. And I think, to Elisa's point, even beyond the June 30th extension, if you grant it, that traffic would need to be managed as diligently then as it is over the next 30 days. Well, and frankly, for the duration of the construction project, it's, we want to make sure it's not an issue for anybody until the project's completed in its totality.
Okay, thank you. I just have a question about one more thing that Emma Morgan brought up. I definitely hear her and the other neighbors, and I think you guys understand. It seems like the importance of keeping North Ave clear. Can we also get the North Ave sign back up in some kind of temporary manner, and then maybe once the sidewalk is back and the fencing is up, back up permanently in where it was? Carl, is that possible?
yeah, sure, that's no problem. That could be taken care of today.
Great, thank you. Okay. Elisa, I saw you had your hand up.
Just curious. So, all the work that's been going on in town, excuse me, they've put asphalt over the walkways just because they weren't able to get to re-bricking them. Is that what you're planning on doing for the walkways? Just taking that road asphalt all the way over to the edge of the property, or are you planning on doing brickwork before the 30th?
It's the brickwork, and if for any reason the brickwork doesn't get completed, I'm happy to make to do a temporary install like that.
Could be.
You know what, I'm thinking off the top of my head here, but Elisa makes a great point, because the brickwork up on Cliff, at least all of this brickwork between now and the 30th, I've understood it as being temporary, for just to get this stitched back together, because there is a concrete curb that is along the property line on Cliff Road that Mr. Murphy wants to replace with a fieldstone wall, and that abuts the sidewalk, and had plans early on to redo all that sidewalk. So if it's a possibility, and obviously timing's an issue, to pave over that, then we're not spending a lot of time doing the brickwork, and it's put in place for safety reasons, and with the understanding that it gets removed later and we actually do the final work.
That is the thought behind my question, because, and I think the neighbors would probably be happier too, because brickwork is loud work and takes a long time, whereas asphalt's like 1 or 2 days. So if I don't know what, who handles that end of things, if it's DPW or Victor or whoever, but that might be an option. That's, if you're ripping it out anyway, afterwards, maybe you just want to asphalt it, and then you don't have to listen to bricks being cut for the half of the month of June.
And we might actually save our clients some money too.
Wow. All right. Well, then.
No, I think it sounds like a win-win, frankly, as long as there's a curb that's along there. So it's not like the sidewalk would just merge with the pavement of the road. Right. There's a grade, there's an elevation change. So it'd be clearly delineated.
I mean, they've done it everywhere else. I don't know who's in charge of deciding that, but it might be the way to go. And the neighbors would probably be happier with that, not having to listen to bricks getting cut for a couple weeks.
I think that both of those comments are great. I think that the zoning board, our concern is that it is, however it gets done, it's buttoned up by the June 30th date and safe for people to traverse in those areas. So I think having both options and getting it safe is the way to go. I don't know if we want to get into the limiting their ability to do bricks or not. I see someone put their hand up. I don't know, did anyone on the board have any feeling on that? I mean, I don't. No.
It's just as safe, and it saves money, and it saves time, and it saves noise pollution. And
yeah, I don't. Is that something I guess it is within our purview. We can say whether we want to allow that to happen or whether we want it. But I don't, like you said, I don't know if that's our decision, if it's the public sidewalk. But I see Billy has his hand up, and then I see we have an abutter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was basically going to say what you said. The public sidewalk would be the jurisdiction of the DPW, as this is a temporary, sort of a temporary fix for the summer. I think it's most important that the sidewalk be passable, regardless of material.
Okay, so I would say, unless I didn't see anybody jumping up to object, but I would say that we stick with our original plan, which seemed to be leaning towards they have the contractor lined up to brick the sidewalks if possible, and if they run out of time, do the asphalt so that it's buttoned up and safe for the public. And we can discuss that when we talk about conditions. I do see a hand raised for, I think it's Miss Little.
Hi, I'd just like to make a comment that I think I'm not hearing you guys talk about it, so I want to bring it up again. in my letter, I asked for a fine for every time the roads are blocked, North Avenue is blocked unnecessarily without forewarning. And the reason is because just there's no incentive. Without that, there's not an incentive to keep it clear. Like there'll be some construction crew member who will park his car so that you can't get out. And I have to call. I have to call who? Carl. I have to wait for Carl to answer. I have to wait for Carl to come. And this happens over and over. And I really would like to see more of an incentive than just somebody above told him not to do it, so that it actually doesn't happen without prior notice. And so there's a fine. So it happens, they get a fine. Anyway, I'm just saying, I don't feel that we're being heard about the distress of not being able to get out of your own driveway twice, 2 or 3 times a week at random times. It's a lot of distress. So I'd like to see more incentive. Thank you.
Billy, do you want to address, or could you address our ability to fine?
Yes, I was going to raise my hand. So fines fall under enforcement, which is section 25 of the zoning codes, the zoning code 139. I don't believe there's any way for us to impose a fine within a decision based on the way that the code is written. And a lot of it, you know, I'll just read it for you. The zoning enforcement officer shall withhold a permit for erection, construction, alteration, or moving of any building or structure if the building or structure as erected, constructed, altered, or moved would be in violation of this chapter. So there's nothing in zoning code about really a construction vehicle blocking a road. So I don't know how we could enforce a fine. However, there are conditions that would be within this approval. And if we are putting the conditions, which I believe Mr. Paul had offered up, of not using North Ave or blocking it, or I mean, I think we could address it with conditions. And that way the zoning enforcement officer would have something to enforce off of that.
Madam
Okay.
Chair.
Yes, Jim.
Just instead of the fine option, I think, I don't know who made Joe Paul said there'll be a project manager there every time the contractors are there. You know, why don't we require, or can't we require someone be hired even, or ensure that the project manager is monitoring that? I mean, this seems to be the big point of contention, that road stay open. So anytime they're working there should be someone who's making sure no one's parking or blocking it, or at least moving things when the neighbors need it moved.
So we have done and I don't know who sat on it or how long ago it was, but I believe we've done in Sconset, where it's really tight, we've said no parking on whatever road it is. So we could just say, I mean, there is the little way, but we could say there's no parking, no stopping on North Avenue. Now, for delivery of materials, I do not know how practical it is to, and Carl will be able to answer better, obviously, how that would work with traffic on Easton if deliveries need to be made, or there is, like he said, there will be probably one day when they will need to close it. I made that note somewhere for, except one day when I didn't write anything else except one day, but so we could just say that there's no parking along there, and as Billy said, the conditions that we have will then give zoning enforcement the ability to enforce, you know, what actually happens down there. And potentially there may be fines, but that's just outside of our purview. Carl, do you think that's, are you like no parking on North Ave or no other than, I guess, limited to deliveries? Because do you need to use it for deliveries?
At this point, there'll be a delivery of the wall forms, you know, that would be a half a day. I'm happy to get, whether it's an email chain or a group, that I can give some notice of when those occasions will be. And obviously the delivery of the forms, the picking up of the forms, and the pouring of the concrete each time, we're probably talking, you know, half a day, 2 hours at a time to pour the concrete. And you know, I just try, if there's a way, I'm happy to agree to a way where I can give as much notification as I can.
I think just, you know, from where I live, where it's a one-way street that goes around, and when there's either been you know, modular homes being delivered or some work that needs to be done by a utility, you know, even a paper handout that gets stuck in people's doors saying, in addition to the email chain or whatever, that says this, you know, access is going to be closed for whatever time, so that they can either move their car the night before, or something like that I think would go a long way. I think I saw Elisa, you have your hand up, and then Miss Morgan, you have your hand up as well. So we'll go to Elisa and then Miss Morgan.
Okay, so in the case that they get the notification that there's a half day of concrete getting poured and trucks are going to be in the way, and the residents opt to park out on Easton Street, I'm guessing. I don't know if that's their only option as a place to park where they don't have to deal, then is there a safe footpath, or what is their course of travel to get to their car, so they're not like walking under a concrete truck? Just trying to think through any potential, you know, hazards or dangers.
I think with the parking and the delivery area, that we should mention also for the hotel, that the North Avenue is quite wide at that point. So walking, pedestrian access should not be an issue if there is a truck pulled in pouring concrete, or a truck pulled in dropping forms into the hole.
Okay. Miss Morgan?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to quickly piggyback off of what Sarah said, just reiterating our safety concerns, because I hear a lot of discussion from everyone about the safety concerns associated with the current construction site, and how there needs to be general public safety to continue or to complete the construction project, so that the site is not of danger to the general public. And it feels like the safety of the neighbors in the blockages that have been happening so consistently is being a bit overlooked instead of that. So I just really want to emphasize that public safety in terms of completing this project so that the site is not a danger is incredibly important. But what's also incredibly important is that if an ambulance or a fire truck needs to get back on our road, 9 times out of 10 for the past 3 months, 4 months, that would not have been an option. And so I just really want to drill that point home so everyone understands where we're coming from, because I agree with Sarah, it's incredibly distressing to live around. We've been living next to it for the last 4 months. I did just want to make a quick point about since someone brought it up about the safe walking paths, there have been several occasions where, besides not being able to get a car by, there have been excavators or stabilizer trucks that have been unsafe to walk by, and I've had to take a longer route to get back to my house. And so thank you for considering, you know, moving forward, that there's a safe walking path, and it sounds like that isn't going to be too much of an issue. Thank you very much.
Okay. I think the neighbors have definite valid concerns. And I apologize if it seemed like we were focusing more on public than neighbors. I didn't see it that way. I just think they're two different conversations, and the one being with the sidewalks, focusing on that. But definitely emergency vehicle access is critical, and we want to make sure that any blockages that are going to be for a length of time are scheduled ahead of time so that you as neighbors are aware of that, and that there are the phone numbers and a project manager for the contractor on site to be able to respond to any concerns.
But
I
one last
think,
comment.
yeah,
Sorry.
sure, go ahead, Elisa.
Just one last comment, and being realistic about this, telling people ahead of time. I mean, on a job site, sometimes you don't know where you're going to fall in the delivery of the day of certain products and certain deliveries if there's traffic or they go to different job sites. So that is not an exact science. So even if you say concrete trucks are going to be here at 10, they might be there at 11. They might, it's just something that the neighbors need to be cognizant of, that it's a hard thing to pin down so many people on their delivery times to job sites. So due to many, many reasons. So I wouldn't rely on this, being able to know way ahead of time to tell everybody.
Well, I guess I wasn't thinking like it's going to be 9 to 10:30, like it's going to be Thursday is, the day that we're scheduled for concrete delivery. So plan accordingly. Like who knows when, just, I would say it'd be better to give more information than less. So I think we can talk about a motion and maybe conditions. If I don't see any more hands raised, Billy, are there any more hands raised that I don't see?
Gary Beller has his hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Beller, you're not showing on my screen, so I did not see you.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Just one additional comment. It appears obviously that the board seems inclined to grant this extension of work through 30. In thinking about that and all of the disruption it's going to cause, especially for the immediate abutters, I like Lisa's suggestion that as a condition that you give the approval to do this construction over the next 30 days, that they agree not to do interior construction until Labor Day. Now, even though you might not be able to impose that under your authorities, if the applicant felt that the board might turn down this request for an extension unless they voluntarily agreed to do that, that would be a good solution. You wouldn't have to be a regulatory thing. It would be the applicant saying, in view of the fact that we're asking the neighborhood to put up with this, we'll agree to do the outside construction through June 30, and then we won't do interior construction. We'll start again in full bore come Labor Day. So I think it could be done that way without the zoning board imposing it, but with it being volunteered by the applicant in the case of the possibility that they may get turned down. Thank you.
Does the applicant have any comment on that information from Mr. Beller? No. Okay. Sorry, Joe, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say it's a little bit of a curveball because that hasn't been, I've never experienced that before. I don't want to speak for Bill or Carl, but it would be an unexpected imposition. It certainly hasn't been something that we contemplated. So it might be worth having a discussion about it or getting Bill and Carl's feedback on that. If we're in a position to be able to discuss it.
I mean, Michael, maybe you can and remember, but I don't remember ever.
Well, I agree with you. I'm a little surprised that we've drifted off safety because this original application was to make sure that the building it continues to be stabilized for the entire summer. So I don't think it's, the trade-off would be worth it for the applicant, or the board.
Mhm.
I
Okay,
would look at it as more of a punishment that is
Yeah.
not necessary or within, our right to do, or we're not here to punish people. We're here to see what the requests are and be reasonable with our votes. And I'm not here to try to make somebody be punished for asking for an extension.
okay,
And the punishment doesn't help the situation at all. And does it make it more safe? I don't like that thinking.
okay. So now I don't see any hands up. I think we can move to discussion of conditions if we are going to entertain a motion to grant the request for the extension based on safety. Billy, I see have your hand up, and I think you're gonna say what I was gonna say, but go ahead.
I was gonna say, if there's no more public comment and the board's gonna discuss, you could go ahead and close the public hearing.
I was just about to do that. So, so if we're at that point, which I think we are, I think we would, take a motion to close the public hearing. Would someone care to make that motion?
I'll make that motion, Madam Chair.
Michael makes the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
And Elisa seconds. Okay, so I'll do roll call vote for that. Michael,
Yes.
Elisa,
Yes.
John,
Aye.
Lisa, okay, Jim. Jim is an I, and myself, I. Okay. Okay, so that's Michael, Elisa, John, Jim, and Susan, to vote on this. Okay, so would someone want to try to craft a motion, or do you want me to maybe go through the notes that I have on potential conditions we could discuss?
Sure, unless Billy has a list already ready to go.
Billy, do you have a list ready to go?
Well, I've been writing down some of the comments that have been made and also what Mr. Paul included in his email. So I could provide you with what my version of the conditions are so far, and we could add or subtract or whatever the board feels.
Okay. Why don't you do that? And then I have notes too, and if I have something different, or if anyone else has something different, we can talk about it.
Okay, so the first condition would be exterior work during the month of June would be limited, or I guess exterior work during the month of June would be limited to 9 a.m. from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. There was also in Mr. Paul's email, with respect to blocking North Ave, we'll pivot the plan to pump the concrete from North Avenue and shift it around to the Cliff Road side. We would be mindful not to block any traffic coming in or out of North Avenue. So I think a condition there would be shall not block North Avenue, with the exception of there's been some talk about what deliveries are taking place there. I don't know how we want to incorporate the deliveries in there. And the only other question I had with that is, when the hotel gets deliveries, does that block the roadway at all? I'm unfamiliar with, I haven't exactly been present there for trucks coming in and out. But then we need to get the street sign needs to be reinstalled. And also, I think that's where I am with the conditions, if anyone has anything else to add.
Okay. Yeah, I had the sign going back up. I had the scope of work is for the safety, getting the house back down, off cribbing and backfilling, and then the reinstallation of sidewalks for safety. And then the same thing, the 9 to 5 work. And then project manager on site, Carl provide the signage on North Avenue for the neighbors to contact. Notice like 24 to 48 hours notice of any blockage that needs to happen. I think that's.
Do you think that's going to lead to neighbors calling if they didn't get the certain notice, and then the neighbors are calling the police to come? Like, is that what's going to happen? Because I don't know.
It may, but we can't control that. Like, I think that if we have we've heard from the neighbors, we've heard from the applicants. I think the applicants are sincere. All three of these participants who are making up the applicants are here all the time, and they are saying they're going to make their best efforts, and I think they've offered. I'm not coming up with any, and maybe you guys, another board member would, but and like you said, Elisa, the practicality of it, I don't know that we're missing something that they could do, right? They're offering to have a project manager from each contractor on site, and that person will know they're not supposed to park and block, giving phone numbers. If they do the paper noticing, Carl said he's willing to have an email from each person that he can notify of any planned blockages. Unfortunately, the way this site is, I think there may need to be some times when it is blocked.
Okay. Also, let's just say really the bottom line. Do you really think you can get this done in 30 days? Because we can't do this again, asking for another extension until like July 3rd. I mean.
No, I think that's it. This is it. And there is no other extensions.
So do you guys think you can really get this back down on its foundation and backfilled in 30 days?
We're done with I think that we're done with the public hearing parts of the board discussed.
Okay. All right.
So, I mean, they've said they can, and that's what they're asking for. And if they don't, then it's going to be up on cribbing.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, they can ask for another extension, but I don't think the board would be. July and August down there is a different ballgame.
Yep.
I think.
Sorry.
John Brescher, we haven't heard from you. What do you have to say about this? I'm going to put you on.
Not all that much, to be honest with you. I mean, I think that it's, I mean, it's a health and safety issue, and I want to sort of echo what Michael said, that we feel at times we've gone sort of far afield from where we were a month ago, or excuse me, 2 or 3 weeks ago, where they were saying, hey, we just need to put this right back down. And I mean, perhaps I'm sort of more pie in the sky, but my assumption is effectively you need a little extra time to put this back down. But once it's back down, you're doing it because you need more time. It's a health and safety issue. And once it's back down, you're kind of on pause for the summer. I mean, you're not doing any exterior construction. You're keeping it as is. I don't think we want to get too far down the legal status of North Ave, and whether or not it's a butter's way, and who has rights in it, who does not, and how it can be opened and not. Other than to say, as this project progresses, being a good neighbor and taking all the courtesies of being a responsible contractor, homeowner, et cetera, that's going to go a long way for us and for the neighbors and for the project in general.
John, I think you're ready to make a motion, it sounds like.
I don't know that I'm the guy for the motion on this one.
Well, I mean, I think what you and Michael both said, yes, this is about the safety. What they've asked us is to put it back down. I think that hopefully the blockages will be minimal. I think we should entertain a motion.
and I agree with Madam Chair, John, that you have the skills to craft the motion.
Soothe me with those sweet lies, Mr. O'Mara. Billy, could you go through the conditions one more time so I make sure, so I'm on sure that I've got everything that we need?
Yes. So we're limiting exterior construction in the month of June from the hours between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. The street sign needs to be installed on the corner of North Ave immediately. We have I'm torn on the blocking North Ave. I mean, I don't know what type of condition that we put there other than the contractor must do everything in their power to keep a passing lane there.
I'm just gonna bump in. We could say no parking on North Ave allowed at any time. Contractor or applicant agrees to provide signage with the contact phone number that will remain up for the remainder of the project. Subcontractors will have a designated employee or project manager on site, and will provide contact information to neighbors, or will ensure that no construction related vehicles are blocking North Avenue other than for the time it takes to make a delivery to empty materials.
Madam Chair, is it possible to also add that the contractors will make all efforts to inform the abutters in the event that North Avenue is going to be unavoidably blocked for a period of time?
Yes.
I think that's reasonable.
Okay. Are there any other, I'm just looking at my notes here. Any other conditions that anyone? Okay, so seeing no other conditions, John, do you want to make
That would be my motion with those conditions, just with those conditions that Billy just read. To allow the exterior construction to extend to June 30th, 2024, under the rationale that this is a public safety issue in order to put the house down.
Okay. So I will do a roll call vote, and if you are in favor.
Oh, was it seconded, Madam
I don't
Chair?
think that's been
Sorry.
seconded.
You're
I
right.
will.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay, so John has made the motion. Michael has seconded. I will do a roll call vote, and I vote approves the motion as read. John Brusher,
Aye.
Michael O'Mara,
Aye.
Elisa Allen,
Aye.
Jim Mondani. You're muted, Jim.
Aye.
Okay, and myself, aye. So that motion carries.
Get to
Okay.
work.
Thank
All
you.
right, so that's it for today. We can take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
And okay, so John made the motion, Elisa seconded. I'll go roll call. John,
Aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
and Lisa. Still not there. Okay, and myself, aye. Okay, so we're adjourned.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Thanks,
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
See, Billy, I'll see you in a second.